Welcome to Geektionary. My name's Corey Hales, and this is the geekiest podcast you'll probably ever hear, where I will try to teach you, along with my friends, about the nerdier things in life. Let's talk about it. No, I usually just kind of go right into it. Can I use your last name?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I'm at my house, and Pat's at his place, way up in Fort Saint, whatever it is. This is Pat Nelson, who is a teacher.
Yep.
Yeah, all I ever remember about where you live is that it's in the north, and it's a fort of some sort.
Fort Nelson. It's quite easy to remember, being
That's-
that's my last name.
yeah, actually, I always thought that wasn't it because that seemed too on the nose.
Yeah, it's one of those.
So, why did you want to talk about caffeine?
I think of all the topics that you suggested, it's the one that's pretty close to my heart. I consider myself a pretty hardcore apologist for caffeine.
Yeah?
I get constantly.
Yeah.
It makes me very happy.
Yeah, it's a very good drug. I have to admit.
It is. I think I read somewhere it's the most used drug in the world.
Yeah, it helps that there's not any legislation on it really. It's pretty much if you want it, go ahead and have it.
Yeah.
So it's also yeah, it's the world's most widely used psychoactive drug. In North America, 90% of adults consume it daily. I do. I know that's for sure.
Yeah.
You? Yeah.
Yep,
How do you take your caffeine?
Primarily, I would say coffee.
Yeah.
Every morning I wake up, I put the coffee machine on. I grind the beans, put the coffee machine on, have my shower, come out, grab a cup of coffee, pour the rest of the pot into a thermos, and bring it to work.
I was half expecting you to say pour the rest of the pot down the sink, just like in your head,
Just
like
suck it
no,
right out.
it's done now. I've had my cup.
On the occasional day where I do forget my thermos at work, I end up throwing it all out, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember back in Cranbrook, you got that fancy espresso machine, and
Oh yeah, was it a stovetop one, or I went through quite a few different machines back then.
no, I think this was the first one. Well, it was the first one that I saw. It was just had the tiny pot and the tiny all that. I don't remember if it was a stovetop one, but I remember seeing that and thinking, well, clearly this is Pat is making one of the main steps towards adulthood in our group of friends by having a tiny coffee machine.
Yeah, I've been through quite a few. I've had the stovetop espresso makers. Right now, I've got this fancy drip machine. I also have an espresso machine.
Do you have one of those like Tassimo things? Those
No, I fucking hate Tassimos.
why?
It's so it's wasteful as hell. You've got these little tiny things you stick in and just completely you throw out half of the thing.
Yeah.
It makes decent coffee, I guess, but it's not incredible. No, I'm anti-Tassimo.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee, but I never really understood the idea of like I'm just going to have a single cup. And
No,
it's
I'm willing to commit to a serious amount if I make coffee. Or
Yeah.
like there's good machines for making a single cup. You don't need to go to one of those silly little things.
yeah. I only recently started drinking coffee, and I only drink coffee if I absolutely need to. Like sometimes I'll have a shift at work that starts at 7 a.m., which is basically pretty much unheard of in my life for the most part. And if
Yeah.
there's free coffee, I'll have it. But I always tell people I take my coffee wrong because of just how much I have to add to it for me to think it's tasty. Like
Huh. What do you put in your
five
cup?
sugar, five cream, that kind of thing. Just
Jesus.
I know, yeah, I hate the taste of coffee. But sometimes you just need that caffeine boost, and you don't feel like drinking something that's almost entirely sugar.
No. No. Well,
Yeah.
but when you make it, it is.
Hmm?
When
Oh,
you
yeah,
make-
exactly. I kind of defeat the purpose. Shit. Just That never actually occurred to me, which makes me feel pretty stupid.
I've been
I
mixing it up lately. I've always drink my coffee black just because it's easy. Generally, I don't like people messing around in the kitchen dealing with making, how much cream to add, how much sugar to add.
so you
But
can't be
lately,
you
I've
can't
been
be
starting the
bothered.
day with basically half milk, half coffee. It's
Okay.
nice. You can just gulp it down in one single sort of gulp. You don't have to wait for it to cool or nothing.
Wouldn't that be considered almost a latte?
Yeah, I think it's called a cafe au lait. I mean,
Okay.
that's French. Cafe.
Olay, which is not French.
Well,
It,
I guess it's not French. It sounds French.
maybe
There's
it's
British word.
Spanish. Fran-
Franco-Spanish. I think that's pretty likely.
yeah, yeah. uh, I've only recently actually just started drinking tea and enjoying it now. But most of the
Any
stuff,
kind of tea, or specifically black?
um, usually actually green or herbal.
Okay.
Yeah, there's this one really good thing you can get at that place, Teopia, which is a raspberry mojito mint. It's fucking delicious.
It it sounds.
Yeah. So, yeah, getting back to a bit, would you say that you're addicted to caffeine at all?
Yes,
No.
definitely would.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I actually, have you ever tried quitting?
No, I definitely never. I have gone days without caffeine, just for, like I say, if I forget my thermos at home
Mm-hmm.
or other things come up. But no, I've never made a conscious effort to quit or
Mm,
even reduce.
okay. Have you ever, let me read out some symptoms for you, and just tell me
Okay.
if you think any of them are familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, so, restlessness. I'll say one, and you tell me if you've had this, which you
Restless.
think possibly from the caffeine. So
What do you mean restless?
restlessness.
Like,
I mean restlessness. Like if I guess anxious maybe.
I don't know what I rest fine.
Okay.
So, but like, so maybe I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay. I did not make these up. I just found this stuff on Wikipedia, which is my as deep as my research ever usually goes. So it's a okay source. You know,
It's a very good source.
it's a communist source. It's by the people for the people. So anyways, fidgeting,
Fidgeting. No,
hmm
not really.
anxiety,
No.
excitement,
Oh yeah.
insomnia,
Nope.
flushed face.
You'd have to ask someone else. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, like, has your face ever felt extremely warm after having a lot of coffee? Like,
Yeah,
af-
but I don't know if that's because the coffee itself is warm, right?
yeah, I realized as I was saying that I was like, well, most people take their coffee, not cold. So, yeah.
No.
Increased urination.
Yo, yes, definitely, definitely, and
That's
pooping too.
okay. That's good to know. Yeah, I find if I one of the problems with drinking the coffee in the morning since I never drink coffee is that later on
Yeah.
I get quite my stomach gets quite upset. So which
No,
brings
that's a problem I find. I run in the morning, and so I go out in the morning. I have my cup of coffee, then I go for a run, and running also makes you poop. So I
really
got two sort of things working on me. Yeah, no, it's one of the major problems in my life right now.
running and pooping.
Running and pooping.
Okay. So yeah, that actually brings me to the next thing, gastrointestinal disturbance,
Oh,
which
there we go. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I got I heard a story recently about a person who started training to do a marathon, and because of all that extra running and stuff, your body does get to a point where it's like when you have to go, you have no choice. You need to go almost immediately. Is that something like how long have you been running? Is this something that has been
I've been running for a couple years now.
oh wow.
Yeah, I'd say it's. I can see what they're talking about there.
Mhm.
I think as you do it more, you sort of recognize when it's you got to just slow down and just walk for a while. But
Okay.
yeah, no, I think that's it's something they don't tell you about running. They don't. They're all this healthy stuff. But no, you
Mhm.
see, if you watch enough marathons, you see people poop their pants.
Have you actually seen that?
I've never actually seen it, but I've heard it happens fairly frequently.
Okay, okay.
And I've seen stuff on YouTube, and lots
Ha,
of YouTube clips.
have you participated in a marathon?
Yeah, yeah, I did one last year. I'm doing another one this year.
And did you run or the whole way, or did you have to stop
I
and
walked
walk?
part. I walked part of it last year. Not exactly happy with that, so this year I am to at least keep a constant jog going.
Yeah. Thing is like I still picture you from back in Cranbrook, so I expect you, while in your marathon, to have like the tweed jacket with the elbow patches, and you running in loafers and corduroys.
Yeah, yeah. I'm disappointed. I finally became a teacher, and it finally was okay to wear nice clothing. But then I became a gym teacher, and so I'm wearing, you know, the track pants and the t-shirt and running shoes.
Jeez, that's
None
weird.
of, none of the fancy teacher clothes I hoped I'd be able to wear.
Yeah, that's yeah. You didn't originally teach gym. This is just in the last I guess
Yeah, just
school
this
year.
last semester.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so strange. But that's something that's kind of a problem with the school system, is the whole making people teach things regardless of whether or not they actually know anything about it. I'm not saying that you're necessarily uneducated in gym, but you know what I mean, right?
Well, it's a learning experience for sure.
Anyway, back to the
Okay,
symptoms.
back to the symptoms.
Yeah, have you experienced muscle twitching,
Yes,
rambling thought and speech,
yes.
irritability?
I mean, that's another one that we're talking in the morning. Maybe because of the caffeine. I wouldn't definitely associate that with caffeine.
Yeah, yeah. Irregular or rapid heartbeat.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
And psychomotor agitation, which would be like wringing your hands or pacing around, stuff like that.
Pacing for sure. Definitely pacing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, those are overdose symptoms, which I think pretty much anyone who's had that few cups of God, I'm bad at this. Those extra few cups of coffee on a particularly bad morning. Um,
Yeah.
you also would back when we were growing up, you'd come to the lands and stuff that we'd occasionally have, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that was mostly energy drinks and like a shit ton of Coke and Pepsi and stuff. And
Yeah, it's true. We didn't really hit the coffee at those, as I recall.
no, occasionally someone would have tea and they would be not so much mocked, but just like, what are you doing? Just questioned.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you were probably one of the people who was questioned, interrogated about your tea
I've
drinking.
been questioned for a variety of infractions.
Yeah, yeah, you were a strange guy.
So is that sort of?
Huh?
No, no, sorry.
I just said that you were a strange guy. We kind of,
Oh, no.
yeah. I'm not saying that you.
So is that sort of how you connect caffeine with this whole Geektionary thing?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like, and like if you go to any sort of comic convention or video game thing or anything like that, you'll always be able to find a very, very heavy amount of energy drinks and soda and stuff like that. And also at if they have a competition like a Halo contest or whatever it is, it's almost always sponsored by an energy drink, usually like Red Bull
Huh.
or Mountain Dew, even though Mountain Dew's not an energy drink.
Huh.
Yeah, and it to me, like, it's very much a part of the whole geek thing, because even if you don't go to those types of things, if you play a lot of video games, you usually turn to caffeine to help you for those all-nighters that you find yourself needing to pull. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that, caffeine
No, it
tends
is.
to make
It's
a
and I don't quite know why there's that association. It seems odd that the all night sort of factor of it, but that is a big part of I think geek culture.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's mainly because it's people doing these sort of things to such an excess. That to me is a like to me being a geek is very much more of a passion thing. It's just passion.
Okay.
It's because you can technically be a geek of any sort. You can be a car geek and be completely obsessed about cars. You can be a knitting geek and all that stuff. I don't consider that stuff to be generally part of geek culture, but to me that's what the term is. This being
Okay.
geek culture, though, caffeine is such a huge part of it because, like, with the Dungeons and Dragons, like we'd play well, we'd play like well into the night sometimes, right?
I remember going for runs to Robin's Donuts to get fresh donuts.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably 4 in the morning. Totally.
Yeah, so like to me, that is the biggest reason why caffeine is on this, and I've actually had a number of people question me about that, and it's because it's not a pop culture type thing. To me, it's more of a it's like an ever-present secondary thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I've defended the caffeine addition to this fairly well. There's always going to be
No,
people
I
that there's always going to be people that disagree, of course. Like, oh well, me and my friends only
Peter's
played
me.
Dungeons and Dragons till one, and we subsisted on tea. It's like screw off.
Yeah. No, I was
Yes.
in a D&D campaign recently. Just because everyone's all over the world at this point. A bunch of friends from Teachers College. There's some guys in China were playing, some guys from Quebec, and people here in BC. And so just figuring a time that worked for everyone. 6 o'clock on Saturday mornings was the only time that sort of worked.
Oh
So yeah,
Jesus.
drank a lot of caffeine for that.
So you this would be like on Skype or something?
Yeah, we had
Oh
Skype
wow.
and we had a program where you can see maps, and yeah, it was quite intense.
That is kind of amazing, actually.
It
I
really, and like everyone was in different points of their day. You know, there's a guy that just came back from the bar. There's us just getting up, and then there's people halfway through their day. Like every D&D experience I've ever had, it fell apart after a couple months, but
still a
good.
couple months, like with the weird schedules and stuff. Did you find that the characters kind of reflected that? Like, were you and some other characters tend to be kind of low action, more hang backy because of having to be up at 6 in the morning?
You know, it probably was thinking about it now. Yeah, I think I played an archer and I hung back,
Oh,
and
Jesus. Yes. Archers are always the ones that are bad morning people. That's yeah, so getting back to caffeine though. You know anything like the type of health things that people always bring up? The like yeah,
yeah, they
like
say that
go on.
negative health things. I've heard it causes some cancer. I've also heard it cures some cancers.
Yeah, it can actually help against certain cancers. So,
Yeah, and so I figure kind of even split on that. Otherwise, I guess it could increase your blood pressure, but
hmm yeah, you've probably heard that it causes dehydration as well, right?
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. I mean, if you're, yeah, I've heard that. Do you think
It
that's true?
it actually has never conclusively been proven.
Huh? You see,
Yeah,
yeah, good.
yeah, yeah fantastic.
I mean,
uh,
probably not as good as drinking as water, right?
well,
But
what beats water in terms of hydration? You know,
no, no,
hydration, hydro, water. So,
yeah,
but yeah, if I find that the very rare times that I do a physical activity, if I end up drinking a pop, I'll be okay for a little while, but if I drink water, I'll just be fine afterwards, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I had this one. I've actually created the most amount of notes. Usually, I just have two little cue cards, and I have four for this one. Mainly
Four
because
key
it's
cards.
huh?
Okay, no, that's just impressive.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I put effort into this by using cue cards and taking notes and doing very small amounts of research. But
No, well, I showed up, so
yeah, you showed up, which is a very important part. So good job at that. Yeah, with the have you? So you said earlier that you've never tried to quit or really cut back, right?
no, and it's interesting because I did used to smoke, and so I know it's a completely different experience. I've never even thought of quitting. I've never thought seriously of cutting back.
And you did quit smoking though, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. How was that? What was that like? What was the withdrawal and all that?
Uh, I think smoking is you get addicted to the hand movements more than anything. That's just a personal. I'm sure other people have different experiences.
Mm,
And it's just a matter of getting over that. The
okay.
physical, I didn't find after a couple of days, the physical problems kind of disappear.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you think you've got to beat and you got to keep telling yourself stay off it, but no,
Did
that's not.
you did you ever find yourself like I know with caffeine you can definitely build up a tolerance. and I have a huge tolerance to caffeine now. But with smoking, did you get a tolerance? Did you get the not as good of a buzz? Were you chasing that dragon with smoking?
I wouldn't say chasing that dragon, but I mean, you're not getting like lightheaded like you would, I guess, if you were starting.
Yeah.
And I think I never probably loved it as much as I love caffeine. Like I was thinking about it the other day that people talk about that first cigarette in the morning, but for me it was always that first sip of coffee. That
That cup of Joe, right?
yeah, that's sort of my morning feeling. That's what I even when I was smoking. That was the cigarette was secondary.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually have tried quitting caffeine a few times, and it's actually surprisingly difficult because with the easiness of getting it and the easiness of taking it, like it and alcohol are the two easiest like drugs I think for intake. But
Yeah, probably.
yeah, having gone through withdrawal, I remember I was at one point I was drinking just a stupid amount of pop in a day, right? Just it was kind of a gross amount. I think it might have even been like up to like 6 cans a day, which is pretty terrible. And it got to the
Yeah,
point where I thought I'm gonna try quitting this, and I heard that cold turkey was the best way to do it. And yeah, it's not pleasant. The listed symptoms of withdrawal that I got here are headache, which I had, irritability, which is kind of a regular state for me, but at the time it got even worse. Inability to concentrate, kind of drowsiness, yes, definitely. Insomnia, that's already also kind of constant. Pain in the stomach, upper body, and joints. And I find even now, if I don't have a certain amount of caffeine within a certain amount of time, I start to get a bit of a headache and stuff like that. Did you find that at all?
yeah. No, I find that very much. I think withdrawal. I definitely do feel withdrawal symptoms on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, so of the ones I listed, would you say that you have like how many would you say that you have every now and then?
Sorry, headaches definitely. Irritability definitely. Uh, what are the other ones you listed?
Uh, Headache, irritability, inability to concentrate,
Yeah,
drowsiness,
yeah.
insomnia.
Insomnia. No, I've always been very blessed with no insomnia. So
Yeah, it's a horrible thing. And the last one
it
was
is.
pain in the stomach, upper body, and joints.
No, I don't think that serious, but
Yeah.
I definitely did realize I went for maybe a week at the beginning of the semester where just I just had didn't have coffee every day,
Hmm.
and I found myself irritable, headache, just feeling awful.
Did you
And then
take it
I
out on your
realized,
students?
hmm?
Did you take it out on your students?
I don't think so, but I guess you'd have to ask them that.
Yeah, just have a spelling test. And it's like at the end, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why can't you spell this stuff? God damn it! They just go out and
Yeah, you can't spell vivisection? Come on. Um,
um,
yeah.
with that, do you find one thing actually about you being a teacher? So your coffee intake has become kind of it's not really changed, right? Coffee intake's more or less the same.
Yeah, I think I drink pretty much a pot of coffee a day.
Okay, and while you were a teacher, you never smoked while you were a teacher, right?
No.
Oh, okay. And what have you ever felt the urge come back because of the teaching to smoke?
No, no, I wouldn't say so.
You drink more though, right?
no, that's not really a true stereotype. I don't think.
No, okay. I remember one time you mentioned a story of going to the liquor store, leaving, and then suddenly you're surrounded by students of yours, and you're just standing there with a bottle of gin in like the middle of the day.
Oh well, that's definitely something. Yeah, you all. I think we're not saints or
Yeah. Have
perfect
you
role models.
have you
Clearly.
ever booted for any of your
Oh
students?
Lord, no.
Yeah,
No.
it's a
I'm really not that sure. It's the rumors of such have been greatly exaggerated.
So, would you say you're Would you say that you are one of the cool teachers though?
I don't try to be. I try to be mean, Mr. Nelson.
Mean Mr. Nelson. Yeah, yeah, I can
That's what I
imagine.
want.
But anyway, getting back to the withdrawal
Yes.
thing. Yeah, it can appear within 12 to 24 hours after discontinuation, which is about, I'd say, usually when, if I haven't had a pop or a tea, that's around when I start feeling like crap.
Yes.
That sound about yeah, it sounds right for you. The peak, like if you're trying to quit, like for any of the listeners that feel like they should cut back or quit caffeine because it is the addiction is extremely common. But yeah, the peak is usually
But
at
I mean,
about.
what's the problem with being addicted to it if it doesn't have any negative side effects?
It does have negative side effects though,
Gee,
like pooping,
what?
all that pooping, all that.
Pooping. I mean, if pooping is the worst side effect, I think you can live with that.
I hear that.
You
Yeah,
can't
that's
live without it, actually.
well, that's very true. But you can kind of have some sort of say in what your bowel movements are like. If you if you don't like,
You get more control with the caffeine. You have a cup of coffee, and
and
within half an hour.
yeah, in half an hour, your butt will become a river of brown. That's not necessarily the best pooping that you can do. And this is a stupid topic. um, back to
So if someone's
let me
done
just
so
get
for
through this,
one,
and then we can debate the merits and problems with quitting caffeine. The peak of withdrawal is usually at about 48 hours, and it can usually last about 2 to 9 days, which I was able to quit caffeine once, then completely out of habit, simply because it was there and I was used to it being there. I was thirsty, walked over, grabbed one, cracked it open, drank it, and then I was like, wait a minute. Oh, god damn it. I had to. Yeah, it was an annoying moment of failure because I didn't even think while I was doing it, but I jump back onto the caffeine train pretty quick.
hmm.
So that's my story of withdrawal, my of chemical addiction. What would you say are the perks of caffeine addiction then, other than you know exactly how you're going to poop every time?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the major one. I think more mental awareness.
Okay.
I generally just a better mind state.
All right. Like you find that you're firing on all cylinders, kind of a thing, right?
Word for word, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I find that, but I also find myself more easily distracted if I've had a bit too much caffeine.
Yeah, definitely.
Bit more anxious, and I find sometimes though, like, have you ever tried caffeine pills though?
Yeah, well, back in university, I don't know. University is
During
a
your wild
stupid.
addiction days,
During my wild, crazy, yeah. No,
teacher
I was a math
college.
major. We don't get that wild.
Yeah.
There was one semester studying for finals. I don't know why, but I decided that caffeine was the best thing in the world. So I had caffeine pills. I had caffeine gum.
Ugh.
I didn't drink Red Bull because Red Bull is fucking expensive, but I drank Red Rain, which is
Ugh.
it's fine.
It
It's
tastes
fine. It's like a
awful.
quarter the price.
Did you have
Um,
beaver buzz? Staying
no,
patriotic?
no, I never had Beaver Buzz. I see it in the store, and I sort of giggle every time I see it. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I was taking all of those and not sleeping very much, having a pot of coffee at least every night, probably more.
Hmm.
I got through all my exams, and I came home, and I just crashed. I don't know. I don't quite. There's about a 24-hour period that I don't really recall in there. I think it was probably the lack of sleep combined with massive caffeine overuse. I
Yeah.
know Health Canada says you should have no more than 400 milligrams, and
Jesus.
I was probably well over 1,000 per day during that period.
Oh wow. Yeah, I actually have. Well, during that time, if you can think back, I have listings for if you have a larger
Okay,
overdose, because the overdose things I mentioned earlier are a standard kind of you've had too much coffee kind of a thing. This is if you've
yeah,
had like far too much caffeine, and yeah, so I'll list
okay.
them, and
Hear this.
again, thinking back at that time. All right, so mania.
Yes,
So you
yeah. I
know
was
what I mean by
absolutely.
mania, right?
I have a good conversation. I was just everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Were you like super positive and also at the same
super like. Yeah, I was
thinking up
excited. I'm like, man, I can study an entire course in 20 hours. Yeah, I'm fucking awesome.
like this is not I'm not only happy I can do anything that kind of
I
thing.
am God. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Depression.
Uh, no, I don't think so. I think it was pretty much a pure mania.
Did you have lapses in judgment other than just that I should continue taking pills and coffee?
Other than staying up far too late, and no, it wasn't like I was running through traffic or
All
something.
right. Yeah, you're being responsible.
I don't think. I think given the opportunity, I could have had a lapse in judgment, but the opportunity didn't present itself.
Okay. Okay. Disorientation.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very. By the end, I was very confused.
Would you say that the caffeine actually helped you in like if you hadn't done it the way you did, would you have a better or worse mark in the courses that you did that for?
I think it worked out for me.
Okay.
And that's probably not a good message because the crash happened and I had no control of it. If it happened earlier that day, I would have missed my last exam.
Oh wow.
Basically, it worked out. Timing
That's,
was perfect.
that's good. Okay. Getting on to a few of the more heavier ones. Yeah, delusions. Did you have any delusions?
I don't like you mean seeing something that wasn't there.
No, no.
Colors were
A
weird.
delusion.
Colors were
A
weird.
delusion is a false belief. Like, let's say that you were on the bus and you were convinced that someone was like recording you. When it, like you know in your head that's probably not likely, but you can't shake the belief that that is happening. Yeah,
Not to
delusions are
that
false
extent. I
beliefs.
probably it was a while back. I mean, it's pretty delusional to think you can learn a complex course in half a night of studying, but
Yeah,
other than that, probably not.
yeah. I'd consider that maybe a mix of mania and delusion, simply
Yeah, it's
because.
sort of a manic delusion. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's lucky that it wasn't something worse. Like I could probably climb that wall just by, like Spider-Man, that type of thing,
I think I might have thought I could jump out of my window. Now
and
that you
just
mention that, yeah, because I was on
land
the second
fine.
floor, and I think really, I think I probably could have. But it wasn't a good idea to try. I didn't. But I remember looking out there and
Mm,
thinking,
Yeah, you're a math major. The only time math majors jump out of windows is when they're trying to kill themselves. So
yeah, well, it wasn't. That's sort of.
yeah. Did you have any hallucinations? Now that is seeing things, hearing things, smelling things, tasting, touching things. None, all false stimulus.
Yeah, like I say, I think colors were a bit weird at the end.
Okay.
Things didn't quite look right. Nothing like I see Barney walking up to me, but
Did you
colors and things moved not quite right. Things looked different than they should
were you able to taste colors? Did you have any synesthesia? This isn't a
have. No, no. Stasia is a symptom. No, I didn't have
No,
any of
it's
that.
not a symptom. I was just thinking that would be kind of awesome. Uh, okay, psychosis. Did you have
I think
difficulty
just
under?
with everything else,
Actually,
yeah.
yeah, actually, if you have the delusions and the hallucinations, that is psychosis. And finally, and I'm not gonna define this until you take a guess of what it is. Rhabdomyolysis.
Rhabdomyolysis.
Mm-hmm.
Rhabdo is a prefix. Myolysis is Greekish. No, I have no idea.
Freakish. It's the breakdown of skeletal muscle tissue.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not what you didn't experience.
no, no. Skeletal muscle. Jeez.
Yeah, it can apparently get pretty intense. Yeah, the lethal dosage they figure to be about 150 to 200 milligrams per kilogram of body mass, which
That'd be a lot
yeah, for me that's roughly they say about 80 to 100 cups of coffee for the average person in a day.
in a day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but with the
yeah,
caffeine pills, that becomes a lot easier to do because a caffeine pill is like 100 milligrams right there.
yeah,
And I don't know about you, but the times that I've taken them, I usually take a couple, like two of them, which right off the bat is a step towards very very easy lethal dosage. Yeah, for me, I would probably need to down the entire bottle, but You don't regret any of that, do you? That sounded more accusatory than an actual question.
You don't
You,
even have any regrets.
you, you
I
think
think
you're
it was a
some
bad
kind of
idea.
god?
I think it was a bad idea. I wouldn't recommend it, but yeah, no, it all worked out.
It's a super common thing during post-secondary education.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, it's not the stupidest thing I ever did. I was just sitting around one day and we just decided, I wonder how long we can stay up. That was a stupid decision. That was the one I would highly recommend no one do. Because
How?
it's really not fun to stay up for 72 hours, even with a lot of caffeine.
Oh, oh, God! Your body probably just felt like
It's just
garbage.
it's not fun. Like after one day, it's pure torture, and you're just sitting there unhappy, and there's no reason to continue, but you sort of in a bet with someone, and so you're both unhappy and sitting there and
Hating
yeah,
life.
hating life. Yeah, it's stupid. Don't do it.
Yeah. Do you find like you're how old are you now? Because I just had a birthday and I'm
I'm 27.
yeah, me too. Yay. Anyways, do you find that even in the early 20s you couldn't stay up as long or yeah, you just couldn't stay up as long? Like, 'cause I remember doing those lands, and even without the caffeine, I could probably do one fairly easily. But now, even with like all the caffeine and energy drinks I can available to me, it just almost hurts. It's just such an unpleasant sensation.
Huh.
Do you find that?
I stay up late, rarer now. Definitely, I stick to a more standard schedule. But
Mm-hmm.
if I get excited about something, I find if I'm watching TV shows, like now that we can download like an entire season of Community, for instance, and watch it back to back, I can easily be up to 3 in the morning doing that. I don't
I,
know about lands. I haven't done that in so long.
yeah, I haven't done a LAN. I haven't played D&D. I just found a group that would very much like me to play, and I'm all hesitant about it. That'll be on the next episode, probably.
That is the next episode, D&D.
Yeah, with the guy I know named Joe
Oh,
something or other. Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you had just completely passed out after your exams and all that. During that final exam that you said that if you'd fallen asleep, you would have missed completely. Did you feel like you could crash at any moment during that?
no, I felt wide awake. I felt like, man, I don't know what I've got this figured out. I am going to be doing this from now on. You know that movie with that guy where he gets the pills and he becomes Superman? Limitless.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
felt like I had discovered this new thing. And so I went through the exam, wrote it, went home, talked to my roommate, said, "Man, I'm awesome." Sat down in my chair and woke up like a day later.
Just no period of like, oh my eyes are a little heavy, I
No,
should
no
close them.
period of
Just
feeling like, oh, I'm a bit tired. No, it was like, okay, I'm asleep now.
you just blacked out basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember? I think you were on this camping trip. This has less to do with caffeine and more just to do with the whole addiction and drug abuse thing. We'd gone camping. It started out with me using an axe to smash diapers out of the fire pit. Do you remember that?
No,
That was when
I'm not
Steve.
sure I was on this trip.
It was the camping trip that Steve Shaw got the nickname Shaw Squatch.
No, I wasn't there.
No, okay. Well, you know how I don't deal with the sun very well, right?
I've been camping with you before, yes, and I
Yeah,
am aware of your
I get
yes,
heat stroke like at the drop
yeah.
of a hat, basically. So I was had planned ahead for this, and I'd actually had a couple T3s with codeine still in my possession after having
Oh
some sort
no,
of dental surgery done.
oh no.
So the the headache starts, and I'm just like, I'm gonna take this. I only took one. I saved the other. I think I ended up taking that like months later. But anyway, so I took the one, and thinking that well, codeine never really affected me much before, except make the pain go away.
Yeah.
So that it didn't quite work out the way I'd hoped because I ended up just being completely loopy from the codeine and then more loopiness because of the heat stroke. I remember starting a game of poker with a friend and then regaining consciousness later in the day when the sun had set, like a
Yeah,
vampire or something. And
very much like.
I knew I hadn't slept, and I knew I didn't do anything wrong because no one seemed to be acting weird about it. But I have a feeling it was a good time, and I'm a little upset that I don't remember any of it. I actually, also getting back to the caffeine, on this one LAN we had it in the basement of a church. I can't remember who set this up, but basement of a church, and me and Mark Armstrong had a stupid amount of caffeine. Like, we made a run to 7-Eleven and got a ridiculous amount of energy drinks, right?
Yeah.
And it got to a point where him and me weren't even playing any of the video games anymore. We were just having a very fast conversation, kind of like jumping from foot to foot and just babbling. It
Yeah.
was, yeah, the follies of youth.
Uh,
Yeah. So, would you say, do you have anything else to say regarding caffeine? Caffeine in any sense, like addiction or the pros and the cons of anything? Just, yeah, what do you have any final thoughts, really?
Caffeine. Final thoughts.
Yeah.
I really do think it is still amazing. I think obviously it's one of the things in moderation, but
Hmm.
I definitely drink more than the recommended dose per day, and I consider that moderation. So
All
probably
right.
not.
Okay, some quick questions. What's better,
Yeah.
caffeine or guarana?
Ooh, what's guarana?
Guarana is it's a berry. It's also it's a caffeinated berry that is used in a lot of it's used in yerba mate, I believe. No, yerba mate's used in yerba mate. What the hell am I talking about? Guarana is one of the main stimulants used in energy drinks. That and taurine.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I consider all of those bullshit. I really think energy drinks are pretty much sugar and caffeine, and everything else is meh. And
yeah.
they're really more sugar than caffeine. Like if you look at the amount of caffeine in energy drinks, generally speaking, they're less than a cup of coffee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
I
Do
can
you
back
believe
it up with
that
facts
taurine?
somewhere.
Do you believe that taurine comes from Bull's balls, like so many people seem to think?
Is that what Red Bull's trying to get us to believe?
I think that's just something people started believing simply because of the name taurine and because of Red Bull being so popular.
Huh?
Do you
No,
believe? No? Yeah.
no, I
You
would say
know,
I don't believe that.
I'm going to go
Like,
ahead and say that's because you're not an idiot. So,
yeah, I mean, really, it is something that sounds like only an idiot would believe. Yeah. Sorry, Red Bull can only has 80 milligrams of caffeine. That's like almost half as much as a cup of coffee.
wow, that's that is weird. Okay, so no real final thoughts on caffeine other than the fact that it's a very blessed product.
It is blessed. I've been trying to get my girlfriend hooked on it. She refuses.
What does she drink?
Huh?
Does she drink anything? Like,
She sometimes have like yeah. I mean, I guess it's coffee I'm trying to get her on, but
ugh.
it's interesting because like really just does not go for that coffee taste, and I think some people are quite opposed to it. But
Yeah, I
yeah, you
find it
still have
mostly
the
terrible.
Diet Coke, which by the way has more caffeine than a regular Coke.
And also, it triggers the insulin in your brain unnecessarily. So yeah,
Really?
diet soda is usually, well, it is actually worse than regular, which kind of goes against purpose. You hear diet and you immediately think healthier.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh
I don't know how
well.
much usable stuff you got in here, but hopefully you got some.
Oh yeah, I got plenty. This'll do good.
Okay.
Well, okay. Yeah. We can keep talking, but yeah, that's okay. Thank you, Pat, for talking to me about caffeine, and that's been Geektionary.
Nope.